Nothing in your circumstances has changed yet. Same job, same house, same everyday routine, and yet something in you feels like it's already shifted. Like you're standing in a hallway between one season and the next, even though nobody around you would notice anything different. Maybe you've noticed it in a conversation that suddenly felt different than it used to. Maybe it's a low-grade dissatisfaction with something that used to feel completely fine. Whatever it looks like for you, Scripture takes this feeling seriously enough to describe it in detail over and over. This isn't about manufacturing a feeling you don't actually have. It's about recognizing one you might already be having and not yet having language for. That feeling isn't confusion. Scripture describes this exact experience again and again in people whose external circumstances hadn't moved an inch yet, while something internal had already turned a corner. Here are 6 signs, straight from Scripture, that God is shifting you into a new season, even before anything visible has actually changed. The first sign is a sudden, almost abrupt sense of closure with your current routine, even though nothing external is forcing you to leave it. Elisha is out plowing with oxen, an ordinary farmer, when Elijah walks by and throws his cloak over him, a wordless gesture of calling. Elisha's response is immediate. He runs after Elijah, asks to say goodbye to his parents, then slaughters his own oxen and burns the plowing equipment to cook a farewell meal for everyone. He doesn't wait for a title or a public ministry to start. He closes the old season decisively, before the new one has visibly begun. Notice that nobody told Elisha to do this. There was no ceremony, no public announcement yet, just a private, decisive certainty that the old chapter was finished. It's the same instinct as suddenly cleaning out a closet you've ignored for years. Not because anyone asked you to, but because something in you already knows it's time. Practically, if you felt a strange, decisive readiness to be done with something, a role, a routine, a way of living, even though nothing outside has demanded it yet, that closure itself might be the first sign. The second sign is a season where your ability to see your situation clearly is temporarily taken away. Saul, on the road to Damascus, is confronted by a blinding light and a direct encounter with Jesus, and he's left physically blind for 3 days, unable to eat or drink, before Ananias arrives to restore his sight and commission him for an entirely new life. 3 days is oddly specific in Scripture, long enough to feel disorienting, but never presented as permanent. The blindness had an expiration date built into it from the start. It's the same disorientation as stepping out of a dark theater into bright daylight. The temporary blindness isn't damage, it's your eyes actually adjusting to a completely different kind of light. That blindness wasn't a detour from his calling. It was the reorientation his calling actually required. An old way of seeing the world had to be shut down completely before a new one could be installed. Practically, if you've been in a season where your usual clarity and confidence about your own life have felt strangely absent, that disorientation might not be a setback. It might be exactly what a genuine reorientation looks like from the inside. The third sign is finding yourself moving toward something before you have any actual evidence. It will work. The woman with the 12-year illness in Mark 5 doesn't wait for a guarantee. She simply thinks to herself, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed, and pushes through a crowd to do exactly that before Jesus turns around. Before any words are exchanged, before any visible proof exists that this will work, she had every social reason to stay hidden in that crowd instead of pressing forward, and moved anyway. It's the same instinct as reaching for a door handle. Before you've confirmed the door is actually unlocked, you're already moving on the strength of a conviction, not a guarantee. Comment below if you've recently found yourself taking a step, a conversation, an application, a decision, before you had any real proof it would lead anywhere. We're about halfway through, and so far, these have all been about your circumstances and your actions. The next 3 are about something quieter. What's shifting in your actual perception, your character, and your loyalty. The fourth sign is a sudden, almost overwhelming new awareness of who God actually is, often right before a specific assignment. Isaiah, in the year King Uzziah died, sees a vision of the Lord in the temple, high and exalted, and his immediate response is an excitement. It's devastation. Woe to me. I am ruined. I am a man of unclean lips. That overwhelming encounter comes directly before God asks, whom shall I send? And Isaiah answers, here am I, send me. Notice that Isaiah's vision doesn't come with a 5-step plan attached. It comes first as an encounter, and only afterward as an assignment. It's a strange kind of privilege. Honestly, most people go through entire seasons without ever feeling small in front of something bigger than their own daily concerns. Practically, if you've recently felt an unusual, almost uncomfortable new sense of God's greatness and your own smallness in comparison, That experience often isn't random timing. It frequently shows up right before a new assignment, not after one. The fifth sign is uncharacteristic boldness showing up in you. In places where fear or hesitation used to sit, Peter denies even knowing Jesus 3 times, out of plain fear. The same night Jesus is arrested, but after Pentecost, that same Peter stands in front of the very crowd that crucified Jesus and preaches without flinching. Nothing about Peter's personality changed overnight through effort. Something had shifted internally, before his circumstances gave him any reason to feel safe doing it. Boldness like this rarely announces its own cause. It just shows up, quietly proving something has already shifted before anyone explains why. It's the same shift as a normally quiet person suddenly speaking up in a meeting, surprising even themselves with how steady their own voice sounded. Practically, if you've noticed small moments of unexpected courage in yourself lately, speaking up, setting a boundary, having a hard conversation you'd normally avoid, that boldness might be less about a personality change and more about a season change already underway. The sixth and final sign is a quiet shift in who or what you're actually loyal to. Before anything external confirms that shift makes sense, Rahab, living inside Jericho, hides to Israelite spies and aligns herself with the God of Israel. Before the walls fall, before any evidence that Israel will actually win, before her own family has any reason to trust her decision, she changes allegiance first. The visible rescue comes later. Rahab had no denomination, no formal training, and no guarantee her own people wouldn't call her a traitor for it. The shift in her loyalty happened privately long before it became public record. It's the quiet moment before a majority opinion actually changes, when a few people privately already know something everyone else hasn't caught up to yet. Has anyone around you noticed a shift in your priorities before you even said anything about it out loud? Practically, if you've noticed your own priorities, convictions, or loyalties quietly shifting, what you value, who you trust, what you're no longer willing to go along with, that internal realignment often comes first. The external season catches up to it, not the other way around. A sudden closure with the old routine, a season where you can't see clearly, movement before proof, an overwhelming new awareness of God, unexpected boldness, a quiet shift in loyalty. 6 internal signs, all of them showing up in Scripture before anything visible had actually changed. 6 ordinary, unimpressive-looking people, each one shifting internally long before their circumstances gave them permission to. None of these 6 require any proof from your circumstances right now. They're describing what's already true on the inside, whether or not the outside has caught up to it yet. If nothing around you looks different yet, that's not evidence nothing is happening. Elisha's oxen were still standing in the same field the morning before everything changed. Saul was still walking the same road. The shift happened first on the inside. Tell me in the comments which of these 6 you're noticing in your own life right now. And if this gave you language for something you've been feeling but couldn't quite explain, subscribe. Because next time, we're talking about what to actually do while you're in this exact in-between season.